Welcome to Disciple Dojo. I've posted a couple of these, and the comments that I keep getting are, we want to see more videos like this. So, in between other teaching videos and interviews and things like that, I will be happy to show you some more things in my travel Bible that I've been transferring from my older study Bible and using colors to highlight and make sense of in the text. And in this episode, we're going to look at the first poem in the Bible, color coding the very first poem in the entire Bible. So as we get ready to jump into that, if you appreciate these videos or anything that this ministry does, we would appreciate you clicking the little subscribe button. When you do, hit the little bell that enables notifications. That lets you know when we have more stuff coming out here at Disciple Dojo, including our live streams where we give away resources and do open Q&A. It's a fun time. Also, for a limited time, and limited, I mean until these run out, we have these Disciple Dojo patches, and we want to make these available to new monthly Disciple Dojo donors. So if you are interested in supporting this ministry, whatever dollar amount you're able to give, we would love to have you partner with us as a monthly dojo donor. And when you do, shoot me an email through the contact page on the website and say, hey, I'm a monthly dojo donor and I'd love to get a patch. Let me know what color you want. We got dark brown and we've got the cream colored. Be happy to get one of these in the mail to you so you can help spread the word about Disciple Dojo. If you have any questions about that, the contact form on the website, best way to reach me. Okay, let's jump into the very first poem in the Bible. Now, Hebrew poetry, for the most part, and this is super simplified, but typically Hebrew poetry doesn't really, like English poetry, use things like rhyme. Hebrew poetry doesn't rhyme. It almost never rhymes. It's also not entirely clear what the rhythm of Hebrew poetry is. I've read people say it's one thing, people say it's another. From what I can tell, scholars are not in agreement on what rhythmically makes a poem a poem. But the thing that they are in agreement on is that Hebrew poetry, for the most part, consists of parallelism. So the poet will say something in one line, and then in the next line, he'll say it again in a slightly different way. And that's to bring out the full meaning. So you have to read both lines together to get the full meaning of what he's trying to say. Or sometimes the poet will say something in the first line, and then the second line will say the opposite. And reading those two together as antitheses, that's how you get the fuller meaning of the poem. And it's usually 2 lines. Most Hebrew poetry is 2 lines, but there's a good bit of Hebrew poetry that's 3 lines. So it'll say something one way, and then it'll build upon that in some way, and then it'll build upon it even more in another way. And sometimes it progresses, sometimes it's just saying the same things in multiple ways. There's lots of forms of Hebrew poetry. But the very first poem in the Bible is actually one of those tripartite poems. It's 3 lines, and it comes right at the beginning in Genesis 1. And so I'll pull it up on the screen so you can see right here. It's in Genesis 1:27. This is the New Revised Standard Version, updated edition, just a typical scholarly translation. But most translations recognize this as well, and they separate this out as poetry. It says, so God created humans, or man, Adam, in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And there's a little textual footnote here, the NRSVUE, it says the Hebrew, if you see down at the bottom left of the screen, it says Hebrew, him. So it literally is, he created him. NRSV translates it to them. They're doing a little interpretive work for you because Adam is a collective noun. It's humanity. But you can see this. Here's the Hebrew text on the left, and I color-coded the lines here so that you can see that there is an A, B, C, and God created. That's what these 2 words are together, so I've underlined them in yellow. God created Eth Ha'adam, the human, the Adam. So God created in yellow the Adam, and I've marked this in green. This is the direct object marker. That's what this word is. It says this is the thing receiving the action. And how did he create them? B'tsalmo, in image of him, literally in his image. So God created the Adam in his image. A, B, C. And I've just used color coded these. So this is in brown and green and underlined in yellow. The next line of the poem has the same elements. B'Tselem Elohim, in image of God. That's the counterpart to in his image. So in the image of God, bara, same verb as up here, he created oto, him. Same as et ha'adam, the human. They've just used the pronoun here. But it's the same three things. So this time it's C, A, B is the order. And then the third line, again, you have the same elements. Zakar unkeva, male and female. Bara, there's the verb again. He created otam. And this is not oto is him. This is otam, them. Now it becomes plural. So it lets you know that this is a collective singular ha'adam. And God is doing the creating in each case. And here's the payoff. In his image, in the image of God, that means that Zakar unkeva has to correspond to the other two lines because it is the C part of this tripartite poem. C, A, B. So what is the image of God? Well, whatever else you may think it is theologically, and whatever else theologians and philosophers have suggested that it is, more than anything else, it is Zakar unkeva. It is male and female. Humanity, ha'adam, is male and female, and that male and femaleness together is the Tselem Elohim, the image of God. This has big implications for how we think about things like sex and gender and humanity, anthropology, what it means to bear God's image, both male and female. Neither bears the full image of God without the other. The image of God is collectively born by Ha'adam, humanity, and that humanity is male and female. So wherever that takes you in your theology, and however else you interpret other passages of scripture and work out the ethics of gender and sexuality and all that kind of stuff, Christians will come to different conclusions on some of the questions that spin off from this. But the main thing I think to keep in mind is whatever definition we have of what it means to be in the image of God, it has to include male and female. And this is what we see in the very first poem in the entire Bible. And so, in my travel Bible that I've been transferring some of my highlights and notes from my larger study Bibles, I want to have this poetry parallel laid out so I can easily show someone or reference it at a glance. And so I'm going to pick three colors, again, using Prismacolor pencils because they don't bleed through and they don't like smudge over the ink. And I'll show you how I mark this in my single column CSB compact pocket Bibles. So again, this is why I love single column Bibles because they usually preserve the poetry. And you can see right here, it doesn't offset it from the rest of the text. Like there's not a hard paragraph break here, but it does indent to let you know as you're reading along in Genesis 1, this is poetry, not just standard Hebrew prose. And so what I want to do is just make it very easy to recognize the ABC, CAB, CAB pattern that this poem consists of. So the Hebrew equivalent, Vayivra Elohim, and God created, that's the first part. So highlight that. So God created. And then the equivalent of that in the second line, which in this case, the CSB actually switches the order around. And so they put it right up front. But in Hebrew, he created comes after in the image of God. The Hebrew is, so God created man in his own image. And then the next line should read, in the image of God, he created him. But CSB in this case has tried to smooth out the English a little bit. It's not a huge deal, but it does kind of mess up the poetry a little bit, I think. But either way, the he created is still there. And then they do it again in the next line. They front load the he created to the front of the sentence. So this is one difference between an English translation and the Hebrew text. And then what did he create? He created Et Ha'adam, the man. And so CSB here just translates it as man. We're going to color it in green, and it's Adam. So it could be man or human, humankind, humanity. And then in the next line, there it is. The Otho is him. Put that in green. And then in the next line, Otham, them. So now we have the first two sections in each one. And then last, the image of God, we'll use this bright pink for that. And the first line, in his, and they put own image. They translate the his image as his own image. They don't capitalize his, interestingly. Some translations capitalize his to let you know that the he is God, but in his own image, in the image of God, and then you see right here, male and female. Now, I want to add some notes, not too many, but periodically, and this is a case where I want to have the Hebrew text right here so that I can easily refer to it when I'm talking or teaching or preaching or something. And so I'm going to put that, and I'm going to use mechanical pencil because it's easy to erase if I make a mistake, and my Hebrew handwriting is not that great. But I'm going to put the Hebrew text right here so that I can reference it. And there we go. Like I said, my Hebrew handwriting is not great, and this is very, very tiny. That's why I highly recommend mechanical pencil when you're writing in your Bible so you can erase and make things where you want it. But I can read this. So now wherever I go, I have this with me. When I'm not near my computer, I don't have access to accordance. Maybe my smartphone is not on me. I don't have my travel Hebrew Bible. At a glance, I can look at this, and this lets me be able to show somebody the structure of the very first poem in the entire Bible. So, hope you find that helpful. It's a neat little insight into Genesis 1, I think, if nothing else. We have a lot of videos on all of Genesis 1 here on the channel. There's a playlist, The Days of Genesis. I'll link that in the video description below. If you're interested in doing a much deeper dive on what Genesis 1 is teaching, check out those videos. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't already, really appreciate it. We'll see you next time back here at Disciple Dojo. As always, keep training.